This week we are talking about something a little more lighthearted. So, quick sticks, children. It's time to shake it off. Today's movie is Little Monsters. Welcome back. In the words of the great poet Rob Thomas of Matchbox 20, man, it's a hot one. We are going through a heat wave. We are in like code orange advisory. It is hot. It will be 107 degrees Fahrenheit tomorrow with the humidity. I have a vacation day tomorrow, as in the day that this is being uploaded. It's Canada Day, and I'm off from work. So while you're listening to this podcast, I will be sleeping in and soaking up some sun. This week, we are keeping it a little more lighthearted, like I mentioned, with a sweet little zombie film. But first, just a few things. I just want to mention, because we are now 27 episodes in, and I've never really addressed the origins of this podcast. Depending on where you're listening to this, could be my horror channel, DeadGrl Spookystar. I have been going through for the past, almost 3 years, and making lists once a month containing movies that I think are underrated, under-recommended, under-watched, horror movies that went totally past your radar, horror movies that are maybe a little disturbing, maybe a little erotic, maybe a comedy horror, any kind of horror that falls under the horror umbrella that is a little weird, a little strange, a little kooky wooky, just horror movies that I think you should be putting on your radar. Now, for this list, we are almost 300 movies in. And I figured, why not start a podcast, starting to talk about every single movie from said list. So that's what we've been doing for the past 27 weeks. We've talked about 27 of the almost 300 movies. Realistically, there's 400 movies right now. It's just that last 100 we haven't talked about yet. So I will leave I always leave it somewhere, whether it's in my description of like the podcast page, whether it's in the episode description, whether it's on my channel somewhere. This letterboxd list, the link is always somewhere, and you guys can follow it. You can follow along. You can watch the movies, maybe try to guess what I'm going to be talking about week to week. I don't know. I just wanted to like tell you guys that's the like inception of this podcast, was the series I started. And next week it'll be our 29th episode, which is very exciting. And you know what else is exciting? We are getting a Stan Winston documentary. Stan Winston created so many memorable creatures and effects, to quote Bloody Disgusting, from the Terminator emerging from flames to the Predator removing its mask, and the groundbreaking dinosaurs of Jurassic Park. Many of cinema's most iconic characters and creature effects were created by Stan Winston and his team. Through never-before-seen archive material, behind-the-scenes footage of iconic Hollywood movies, and interviews with family, friends, and collaborators, including James Cameron, Monster Maker tells the story of the visionary artist whose work helped define modern blockbuster filmmaking. And that's the end of the quote. My favorite Stan Winston creation is obviously Pumpkinhead, and I think I like that one so much because that was actually his directorial debut. So not only was he doing the effects, he was also directing the movie, and I think that's so cool. I'll be keeping an eye out for that documentary. Also, finally watched Scary Movie, the new one. I really have no thoughts. It was not great. As someone who finds great genuine comfort in the first three, this felt like a forced sequel. Like we were just kind of like forcing Scary Movie onto this generation who obviously is not receiving it well. And that's saying a lot with it being the sixth in the series. I just didn't laugh. And I hate that the only things I found funny were the gay jokes. And I felt like it was punching so below, you know? Like it just... I don't know, it came from director Michael Titties, and with a name like Michael Titties, you would think that he would be the perfect guy to make a scary movie. He even directed A Haunted House 1 and 2, and I love those movies, and I think that those are funnier than Scary Movie 4, 5, and 6. But I digress. Let's get into today's movie. Little Monsters, released in 2019. This movie has become such a comfort watch for me. It has such incredible rewatchability. It is so silly, it's so goofy, and it's so full of heart. From director Abe Forsyth, musician teams up with a teacher and kids show personality to protect young children from a sudden outbreak of zombies. Now, this is my most favorite Lupita Nyong'o role. I think this has gotta be like up there with Us. This is maybe even Black Panther. She just plays this role so perfectly. I don't normally love a zombie movie, but this one is told with such charm and from a totally fresh standpoint. The film is actually dedicated to Abe Forsyth's son. His name is Spike, whose first day of kindergarten inspired the story, and Spike actually appears as School Kid Zombie. That's the name. And another fun fact, Abe Forsyth plays a police officer at the beginning of the film, so you can clock that. Also, don't get this one confused with Little Monsters from 1989. This is a totally different vibe, so let's get into it. Sometimes you just need a zombie movie that doesn't take itself too seriously, and this one absolutely delivers. The story follows Dave, a struggling musician who is kind of a disaster at life until he starts spending more time with his nephew. After volunteering to chaperone a kindergarten field trip, mostly because he's trying to impress the endlessly charming Miss Caroline, played by Lupita, what should have been a wholesome day at a petting zoo turns into something nobody saw coming. Now, what I love about this movie is that it's not in a rush to throw the zombies at you. It lets you get to know the characters. It lets you get comfortable in this world and somehow lets you get genuinely invested in the group of adults trying to keep the bunch of kindergartners entertained. Miss Caroline is basically an angel, okay? She keeps calm under pressure, and Dave slowly becomes somebody that you want to root for. And then you have Teddy McGiggle, a children's TV host who's played by Josh Gad in one of his most annoying, insufferable roles. Now, once he's there, the chaos kicks in, and the movie finds a really fun balance between horror and comedy. Actually, should I say comedy and horror, because it's definitely not horrific, but there are horror elements here. There are zombies, plenty of gore, and some genuinely tense moments, but it's all wrapped up in this surprisingly sweet story about protecting innocence and stepping up when it counts. It never loses sense of any of the humor, even when things get messy. This movie is so funny, it's so heartfelt, and if you're looking for a zombie movie that's equal parts hilarious, wholesome, and bloody, this one is worth checking out. I'm trying not to spoil it because it's not necessarily like a big twist or anything in this. It's just an enjoyable watch, and I think that if you're going to watch this one, you should enjoy it without it being spoiled. But what I will say is Miss Caroline uses phrases like "quick sticks, children," and she sings "Shake It Off" by Taylor Swift to calm the kids down. It's really cute because it's a song they know and they love and they obviously respond to, and when there's a distraction from an adult they trust, they don't necessarily respond to the chaos surrounding them. It's Miss Caroline's way of giving the kids normalcy in chaos. something routine they should expect in a class, and Lupita plays this role so well. Now, originally, the producers could not get the rights to use Taylor Swift's Shake It Off. They were denied by the record label, but Lupita Nyong'o is a huge fan of the song, and she saw it as a pivotal part of the screenplay, which led her to personally get in touch with Miss Taylor Swift to explain why the song was so important to her and to the narrative of the story, after which Taylor Swift granted her the rights. And one other specific thing I love about this movie, besides how fantastic the child actors are, is with how far-fetched the whole premise feels. The practical effects and the real-life setting make it feel so much more grounded. And it's just a really nice story of watching someone literally grow up from beginning of the movie to the end. And I'm not talking about Josh Gad. So, that's Little Monsters, proof that sometimes the best zombie movies aren't about surviving the apocalypse. This is not an apocalypse film. This is an accident. This was all an accident. They are just surviving a kindergarten field trip. If you've seen it, let me know what you thought. And if you haven't, I would definitely recommend adding it to your watch list. It's so funny, it's surprisingly wholesome, and the perfect reminder that horror can have a whole lot of heart without skimping on the zombie chaos. And in saying all of that, thank you so much for being here for 27 weeks. Thank you for listening, and thank you so much for being weird. Stay strange, stay spooky, and remember, be kind to your kindergarten teachers, because if the zombie apocalypse ever happens, they'll probably be the ones keeping us all alive. Sayonara, suckers.